Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to today's video. This episode will guide you through the issues of the Uncanny X-Men published by Marvel Comics in 1984. Issue 177. Mystique has always loved the circus. Whether small or big, she liked both. In gentler days, she liked the magic a carnival or amusement park would bring. Storybook characters that came to life, more beautiful and exciting than she would ever hope to be. She had dreams of running away and joining them, but she lacked the courage to do so. She was certain her life would be as boring and ordinary as everyone else's. However, she was wrong. She's being attacked by Wolverine from behind, but is able to jump out of the way. Partially, as he's able to cut her and draws blood. She kicks him in a manner that would have broken any normal man's neck, but his bones are laced with adamantium, making his neck virtually unbreakable. He keeps attacking her, so she resorts to a different way of dealing with him and slices his throat, making him bleed out. Kitty arrives on the scene and sees Wolverine's lifeless body lying there. Or so she thinks. Her inexperience on the battlefield will prove her undoing, regardless of her courage and intelligence. And as she checks his pulse, she doesn't see any marks on him. But she gets stabbed instead. She got too close and it wasn't Wolverine at all, but Mystique in disguise. The wall behind Mystique explodes and throws her to the ground. Colossus steps through and is enraged by what Mystique has done to Kitty. She killed her in cold blood, even though Kitty had never done her any harm. She says she will kill him too, and no one ever forced Kitty to join the X-Men. She knew the risks involved. She grabs one of the skulls from her belt and throws it at Colossus, who's blinded by his grief and rage, and now by her flare skull as well. The explosion not only blinds him, but the heat generated by it scars and melts Colossus' armor skin. But Colossus is not the only one in pain, as she herself gets blasted by Cyclops' optic blast in the back. Luckily for Mystique, the blast was aimed to stun her and not kill her. She runs for cover and gets pursued by Cyclops, who obviously wants to capture her alive, and this fact could very well be to Mystique's advantage. Cyclops tells Colossus to not follow Mystique into the funhouse because that's exactly what she wants him to do. But he does so anyways. The funhouse is filled with mirrors, which makes Cyclops not sure which ones are the real Colossus and Mystique. And Colossus himself is still pretty much blinded by the flare skull's explosion. This confusion allows Mystique to take the proper aim, and as she's about to fire her gun, Cyclops tries to stop her regardless. But Mystique tricked the X-Men, because he shot his beam at a holographic projection of her and went straight through her, and into the amplifier module she had carefully placed in such a way that Cyclops' blast has become a lot more lethal than the initial stun force and hits Colossus instead. And it pierces right through his armor. Shocked by the killing of his teammate, Cyclops is distracted, and had not realized Mystique wasn't sneaking up on Colossus at all, but was sneaking up on himself instead, using her precision and a garrote to strangle Cyclops until he's dead. Mystique changes into a specially designed combat suit and is starting to get cocky and overconfident with the results, as she gets swept off her feet by Storm, who uses her wind and lightning bolt powers on her. But Mystique was ready for this and uses Storm's own power against her. The combat suit she's wearing allows her to absorb Storm's lightning bolts and convert the energies to shoot at Storm instead. But this is the first time the suit is being used in an actual combat situation, and Mystique is glad to see that it works how it was intended to work. Storm dodges Mystique's attack by stepping out of the way, but what she doesn't realize is that she wasn't aiming for her at all, but for the fuel truck behind her. It explodes and kills Storm instantly, resulting in Mystique falling from high in the air as well. She tries to maneuver herself a bit and aims for the canvas roof of the circus tent to break the fall. After that, she's able to grab a trapeze bar and makes her way to a safer spot, while getting lost in thoughts, only to be roughly pulled back to reality again by Rogue attacking her, who pulled one of the main parts of the circus tent and easily uses it like a baseball bat, regardless of its size and weight. Getting attacked by Rogue caused some loyalty issues within Mystique. Before Rogue joined the X-Men, she was part of Mystique's Brotherhood of evil mutants, and was even raised by Mystique as a foster daughter, making her not wanting to attack Rogue. But Rogue's loyalty is now with the X-Men, and she sets out to avenge her friends, leaving Mystique no choice but to blast her with her gun to save her own skin. As the beam from her gun hits Rogue, Mystique cries out. Overcome by emotions she thought she had put behind her decades ago, even though a part of her looks on with an amused but clinical detachment. Then suddenly she gets grabbed by Nightcrawler, who tries to incapacitate her by teleporting her along with him in a series of ports. This usually has a draining effect on the people Nightcrawler takes along with him, but Mystique doesn't seem fazed by this at all, much to the surprise of Nightcrawler himself. Mystique knows that he is the last one of the X-Men. All she has to do is kill him and the mission is over with, but she hesitates. Nightcrawler doesn't though, and knocks her lights out with one well-placed punch to her face. The next thing Mystique is aware of is a cool cloth being pressed against her forehead and the touch of equally cool hands against her swollen face. The hands are Irene Adler's hands, who is Mystique's partner in crime, otherwise known as Destiny, who asks her if she's feeling better. Mystique tells her she's probably lucky to be alive still, without a broken jaw, because Nightcrawler didn't pull his punch. Irene tells Raven that she has done well, because she killed 6 out of the possible 7, but Mystique feels she failed. She was able to kill Rogue, but not Nightcrawler. Something Irene had warned her about, but Raven didn't listen. They then get interrupted by a man known only as Arcade and his assistant, Miss Locke. He comes in with champagne because he feels Mystique's performance deserves a celebration. He's impressed with her result and he says it was the best Murder World duel he has fought in ages. His robot X-Men almost had Mystique fooled to the point where she acted as if they were the real thing. Mystique tells him that as a master of mimicry herself, she didn't expect to be fooled. But she was, which is a good thing because that's what she paid him for, as she sits straight up on the couch while having changed into a spitting image of Arcade himself. Arcade tells her he isn't in it for the money, he just likes the game, and tells her that this one was on the house. Had Mystique lost, she could have died, but if Arcade had lost there wouldn't have been any risk for him, which Mystique says isn't quite fair. But Arcade tells her, his game and his rules. She tells him that the real X-Men wouldn't have fought her individually like that. They would have attacked her as a team, and would also not have been as careless. He tells her he can pretty much duplicate their powers with his robots and his murder world, and what Mystique proved down there is that she can beat him, which is an achievement in itself. She then says to him that she would like to train a Brotherhood team the same way, by putting them up against Arcade's robots. Arcade says that that will not be a problem, as long as they use tonight's parameters. Namely that one of the robots will not be programmed to stun its foe, but will be set to kill, to add a little spice to the game and to keep things interesting for everyone involved. And Mystique agrees to this. As Arcade and Locke make their way out of the room, Mystique asks him which one of the X-Men in her exercise was set to kill, and Arcade tells her that it was the obvious one, of course. Her foster daughter Rogue was. After Arcade is left, Mystique tells Destiny that she knows Arcade doesn't like to lose. That she knows that every new match will be harder than before, but that's exactly what she wants. She sees Destiny having a sour look on her face and she asks her why. Irene tells Mystique that the vendetta she's planning against the X-Men is a mistake, but Mystique's response to her is by asking if it's wrong for her to do whatever is necessary to get her daughter back. Irene suggests that maybe Rogue left to join the X-Men of her own free will. Raven knows how troubled she's been lately, but she is not having it. She says that Rogue would never abandon her. If she has really joined the X-Men, it must be because Xavier forced her with his telepathic abilities. He has to be manipulating her mind. Irene then asks her if she has considered the cost. She reminds Mystique of how she was not able to hurt the facsimile Nightcrawler just now, so how will she fare when confronted with the real Nightcrawler? She cannot finish her next sentence because Mystique interrupts her and tells her to be silent. She doesn't want her to mention Nightcrawler again. The X-Men have her child, and if she has to slaughter them all, she will. Over in Stevie Hunter's dance studio nearby the X-Men's home and secret headquarters in Salem Center, New York, Kitty asks Stevie if she has a minute for her after class. Stevie says sure she has, and asks Kitty if she's doing alright since she seems to be distracted the past couple of weeks, ever since they've returned from Japan. Kitty then asks her what you do when someone you respect and really care for, a person you thought was closer to you than anyone in the world, even closer than your parents, suddenly changes so much that she seems like a total stranger. Stevie of course knows immediately that Kitty is talking about Aurora, and tells her it's only a change in hairstyle and wardrobe. What could be so terrible about that? But Kitty tells her it's way more than that, and that she doesn't understand while she's crying. She tells Stevie that Aurora has changed on the inside as well. The Aurora Kitty knew isn't there anymore. At the same time, Aurora walks in as well, and asks Kitty to tell her what has taken her place then. Is it a monster? Kitty is shocked to see Aurora here, and tells her that compared to what she once was, maybe she has become a monster. This in turn shocks Aurora, and she tries to touch Kitty, but her arm goes right through her body, as she's using her phasing powers and says she has to get dressed. Storm tells her that she will wait here for her. She looks worried at Stevie and repeats the word monster. Stevie tells her to not let it worry her too much. She's just been shaken up by her change and is having a hard time adjusting to her new looks. She tells Storm that she has to be patient, and is sure that Kitty will get over it in due time. Aurora tells Stevie that even though that will solve Kitty's problem, the truly terrifying thing in all of this is that she fears that Kitty may well be right. Some 26,000 miles above them, the Starjammer spaceship is hovering in orbit, about to embark on a mission well beyond the Earth's solar system, probably never to return. One of the passengers of the ship is Lilandra Neramani, the former Magistrix of the Shi'ar Empire. She's about to return to her homeworld to retake her imperial throne from her sister Deathbird. She is currently saying her goodbyes to her lover Charles Xavier, the mentor and founder of the X-Men. They each have their responsibilities to their people and are well aware that they might not see each other for a very long time, if they ever will. Charles is a lot more optimistic about the future than Lilandra is. She knows that even if she'll be successful in her attempt, the battle will be long and hard. Charles tells her to have hope while they're still alive. He tells her to be true to the love and to come back to him in due time. And she says she will, even if it has to be from the gates of hell itself. In another part of the same ship, in the transporter room, Christopher Summers, otherwise known as Corsair, the leader of the Starjammers, is saying his goodbyes to his two sons, Scott and Alex. Scott asks his dad if he understands why Alex and he will not be coming along with them, and Christopher tells him that he's glad they won't in a way. He tells him that he is a warrior and a pirate, and as much as he would like to have his two sons by his side, this is not the life he wants for the two of them. Scott tells him that he will miss him. After all, he's only just found out that the man he knew as Corsair is his father and started bonding with him over the past couple of weeks. And Corsair tells Scott that he has a wife now, and that they should give themselves a chance for a lasting happiness their parents never had. He says that he's proud of his sons and adds that if their mother was still alive, she would be as well. As the professor, Alex and him step into the transporter beam, Scott thanks his dad for showing them who they are and where they came from. They will never forget him and never stop loving him. As they teleport out, Corsair and Lilandra are both in tears. Corsair says to Lilandra that he can tell that Scott thinks they are going to die. She tells him he does have a point, since it's only the 6 of them fighting a battle against the power of an entire galaxy. Corsair says that they can still quit, and Lilandra tells him that she's tempted, but she cannot. Corsair says that in his case, he doesn't even want to quit, as he presses a button to start a warp from his planet of birth, setting a course for the Shi'ar galaxy. And a destiny both glorious as it is tragic. That same evening, at the Lincoln Center, Britain's Royal Ballet is having a performance, and some of the X-Men have come to watch it in person. Kitty and Piotr will be meeting up with Kurt and Amanda after they've parked the car, and Kurt tells them to not get distracted along the way. Kitty shouts out to Kurt that they would never do such a thing, to which he responds that he would, and tells them to hurry up because the show is about to start. Amanda tells Kurt that he shouldn't be teasing Kitty like that, but Kurt tells her that every once in a while he just has to play the part of a demon, just like his features suggest. Amanda then asks him if something is the matter, because he can tell that he's sounding down. He tells her that he has been thinking about Scott and Alex, and how they had been orphans for most of their lives, until Corsair suddenly arrived and gave them roots and heritage. All he can do is wish he was that lucky. He asks Amanda who he is, where he comes from and who his real family is. Amanda tells him that all she knows is what her mother had told her. That she found him as a newborn, barely even alive, in a roadside shelter in the Schwarzwald in Germany. A man was lying dead outside and they presume he was Kurt's father. Kurt says that he probably took one look at him and instantly dropped dead from fright. Amanda tells him to stop it, because it isn't funny. She says there was no sign of anyone else around. She says that her mother took him in because of his appearance and decided to raise him herself in the circus. Kurt asks if Amanda's mother ever tried to track down his family, and she says she doesn't know about that. She never asked her, and neither did he before now. She asks him why all of this is suddenly so important to him. He then tells her that the leader of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, Mystique, looks like him in a way, and when he had asked her if there's some kind of connection between the two of them, she had told him to go and ask Amanda's mother, Margali Sardis, about that. Amanda just looks at Kurt. He then tells her that life has been so hectic these past couple of months that he never got the opportunity. He has left his questions and fears fester for far too long, and he needs answers now. Amanda tells him that they can call her mother tomorrow. Several blocks away, Kitty and Pyotr have finally been able to find a parking spot. Kitty was starting to get worried that they would never find one and mentions how driving is getting ridiculous. Pyotr tells her that the sky is clear and a walk will do them good. She says that the car will probably get ripped off while they're gone, and Pyotr tells her she sounds as if she's in a cheerful mood and says that he thought she was looking forward to the ballet. She tells him she is and didn't mean to be so grumpy, but she has a lot on her mind. He asks her if talking about it would help her, and she tells him that she started a series of experiments with a boy called Doug Ramsey who is a friend from dance class. Doug is also into computers just like she is, but his specialty is software, where she is more into computer hardware. She's about to explain what they're trying to do, but suddenly there's an explosion in the building. Pyotr can hear screams coming from up there and figures that people are injured and trapped. He tells Kitty to summon the fire brigade, while he will do what he can to save them. She tells him to be careful as they split up, but he says that fire is of little danger to him as he armors up as Colossus. He tells her to hurry up as lives are at risk. When he enters the building, he notices the building has been condemned, and figures it must be squatters who are living here illegally. As he makes his way upstairs, his mind wanders off, wondering who this Doug Ramsey is. His name doesn't ring a bell, even though Kitty speaks fondly of him and must like him a lot. When he has reached the top floor of the building, he sees no fire whatsoever, and is surprised by the presence of the Blob. The Blob asks him if it isn't wonderful what you can do nowadays with holographic projections and special effects. He says that you can pretty much make anyone believe anything. Colossus now realizes that this was all a trap and tries to punch the Blob, but he catches his fist, mocks him by telling him he's very bright, and smacks him outside, straight through the building's walls. As he's flying through the air, he figures the Blob wouldn't be dumb enough or brave enough to confront him by himself and assumes that the rest of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants must be close by. All he can think of is he must keep them away from Kitty. As Kitty has reached a payphone, she looks back at the building and can see Colossus high up in the air in the clutches of a big bird made out of fire. Colossus knows that this has to be Pyro's doing, and he's right. On the edge of a building, Pyro is shooting fire from his flamethrowers and is controlling it. Not only creating the firebird, but also raising the temperature. Colossus is trying to break free, but his punches seem to not be able to do so. He keeps on struggling and Pyro keeps on making it hotter and hotter, to the point where Colossus isn't just turning red hot, but even white hot. He keeps on trying to free himself from the bird's grip, but to no avail. He has wondered often what the upper limits of his organic steel are, how invulnerable he is, if his skin can be penetrated or if his bones can get broken, if his metal armor can even melt. And if it does, what will this do to his human self? The bird suddenly releases his hold on Colossus and he starts to fall down towards the earth, like a blazing meteor. The ground where he lands immediately starts sizzling from the heat, and flammable material nearby instantly explodes. Colossus has never experienced pain like this before. As he tries to gather his bearings, he wonders why the bird let him fall, and figures him trying to fight it off drained Pyro, who had been controlling it. He knows Mystique and Destiny are no real threat to him, but Avalanche is a different matter. He has to try and recuperate before the others strike, but it's too late. Avalanche is already here. While he admires Colossus' toughness, he thinks it's almost a shame to finish him off like this. He asks Pyro if he's ever wondered what would happen if something as hot as Colossus is right now gets dumped into extreme cold. The two look on as Avalanche uses his ground-shaking powers to sweep trucks towards Colossus, containing liquid nitrogen. Colossus never even noticed, and the tankers rupture on impact, engulfing his still scorching red-hot body into the liquid nitrogen. He screams out in agony. Kitty hears him and runs towards the place where she heard the scream coming from. She sees smoke coming from the construction site. She faces herself through the enclosure surrounding the site, yelling out for Colossus in despair. But Pyotr cannot respond. Thanks for watching this video and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, because that really helps me out in growing the channel and being able to produce more videos like this one. See you next episode.